So you found this niche, and because your worldview was kind of exploded. It was like, wow, there's a whole bunch of speakers of this language here. I'm curious, are there concentrations of them? Like I'm thinking of, like how you see like there's a large Islamic community in Detroit,
Yep.
or there's Bosnian community in St. Louis, right?
Yep.
Because of waves of immigration. Do you find areas of concentration of, for instance, Kekchi?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
I mean, it's exactly the same with other immigrant groups, right? Somebody starts there and then other people join them, and then pretty soon you have a really substantial community where they're concentrated. So, for example, Kingston, New York, is just full to the brim of speakers of Kekchi. I mean, just tons and tons. I went there last year just because I'd heard that there was a large community, and you could literally, I could walk around for just a few minutes and find somebody that spoke Kekchi there. Um,
Wow.
and that's just Kekchi. Then you have other languages like Mam. This is another language from Guatemala. Oakland, California, just full to the brim of speakers of Mam. So many different speakers of Mam there. And same thing, I went to Oakland, California. This is back when I'd first started Maya Bridge, and we had our clients were saying we need Mam, right? So that was one of the first, like we were providing mostly Kekchi, and then our client said, "Hey, we need mom." And so, I did some research. I found that mom was really prevalent in Oakland, so I flew to Oakland,
Hmm.
and the work that we initially did, and really the work that we still do, most of the work that we do is relating to government contract work. So I would say that the major sort of the majority of the work that we're doing is for unaccompanied children. So we get a lot of kids between the ages of basically 2 to 17, and they come here without their legal parent or guardian, and they have to go through an interview process, right? And so we provide interpretation for all the interviews that they have to go through to make sure that they're going to be safe, there's no risk of human trafficking, things like that. And unfortunately, they require us, they say any interpreter that provides services for that type of work has to be either a US citizen, US resident, have asylum, or have some kind of work authorization that allows them to work, right? You can't
Hmm.
use somebody that lives in Guatemala, for example. And so we were presented with this kind of issue of you need to find us interpreters of the Mam language and other languages that have the ability to work in the United States legally. So I flew to Oakland, and I had flyers that I was putting up, and literally the first place that I stopped, I stopped, I parked. I remember I parked outside of a Goodwill, and I thought, I'm sure people. This is a high traffic area. Goodwill is like a good store, especially if you're looking to save money on clothes and things like that, right? I got out of my car and walked over to like a light post that I was going to post my flyer on, and I saw a man and his wife, and I could immediately tell that they were from Guatemala, just being very familiar with the region. And his wife was wearing the traditional Mayan, it's called corte, which is like colorful Mayan dress for women, right?
Yeah, yeah, I've
I
seen
knew
them.
that they
Yeah.
were from Guatemala, and I knew that they were likely Mayan, right? And so I went up to them and I spoke to them in Spanish, and I said, "Are you from Guatemala?" And they said, "Yes." I said, "Do you speak Mam?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Do you have authorization to work legally in the United States?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Are you looking for work?" And he said, "Yes." Right. And so, um, and we hired that individual, and he worked for us for like 2 years, basically, providing interpretation as a Mam to Spanish interpreter. So to answer your question, yes, I mean, there's communities like that all across the United States, all
Hmm.
across the United States. And I've been out to Indiana, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, New York, Pennsylvania, Washington State, Oregon, all of these places that I've been to that I mentioned. When I get on Google Maps, I can find these communities, and you find little things like this is panaderia, which is like a bakery, right? Like a bakery that says like
Yeah,
bakery
yeah.
tikal, right? Tikal is like the famous.
Hmm.
So I'm like, okay, I know that these people are Guatemalan, and so then I go and I find them, and yeah, and lots of times are owned by speakers of these indigenous languages, or they have people working there that speak indigenous languages. So it's
Yeah.
way more substantial than I think almost anybody realizes.